Yeah, bring it up a little bit. Thank you. I like that. Whoever did that, I paid them. How was break? Good? I'm just trying to still absorb all of the insights from earlier today. I hope you found it as fascinating as I did. So I've covered e-commerce for a very long time, like 12 years, long time. A lot has changed. There was a lot of cool innovation that's happened over that time. But at the same time, e-commerce growth has slowed a bit. Simultaneously, we as consumers, are expecting more. Shopping sites and platforms need to get smarter. Luckily, we have two heavyweights here in the e-commerce space, eBay and Wayfair, to help us discuss how they're using AI to improve the consumer experience, everything from maybe finally personalized shopping that doesn't feel creepy but feels like it knows us, to seller tools to help the people who are selecting and powering all their inventory on their marketplaces be more efficient and maybe make a little more money. Please help me welcome Chief AI Officer of eBay, Nitzan Mekel, and Chief Technology Officer of Wayfair, Fiona Tan. Hi, nice to see you. Hello. So, we're going to start with you, Nitzan, because of some news that I believe eBay is announcing today. And shockingly, the topic is agents. Can you fill us in on what you all are launching today?
Yeah, thank you. So we are just announcing now the launch of our new shopping agent, which is eBay's first consumer-facing experience that is powered by our agentic AI platform.
And how might a shopper on eBay today, or whenever, I think it's going to be maybe a gradual rollout,
Yeah.
experience this in what form? Is it sort of the old school chatbot that is up in your face, or is it a more integrated experience?
Definitely not in your face, integrated, and obviously we'll iterate and learn how to make it even more seamless. The idea is for the UI to be a companion with you, so you can engage with the core experience the way you would normally do. You can engage through the agent with virtually the same types of experiences, but you can also go back and forth. You can have the agent execute certain activities for you, etc. So it's really about letting users go back and forth, and we'll figure out over time, we'll learn which experiences people enjoy using the agent the most. At the end of the day, we're really looking to use AI agents to make online shopping fun.
Um, there is a lot within the eBay catalog that is fun if you can find it, right? And so I'm curious about the actual goal of an agent experience. I believe these agents are not actually going to the end state and making the purchase for you, right? You're maybe they're bringing you down a path. Can you just outline for us what the goal is and what can be accomplished through this agent experience that previously was not possible?
The biggest difference or the biggest goal is really about unlocking our inventory. As you said, eBay's inventory is incredibly broad and long tail. There's just so many unique things, many one-offs. Often the price of them can be very, very different, or the value, depending on very small nuanced differences that only an expert would know. It could be in collectibles, in fashion, etc. And so navigating that can be a daunting task. What an agent allows you to do is, especially in the upper part of the funnel, is discover the inventory through much more nuanced communication of intent, through iteration and sort of iterative reasoning of the agent. And then there are certain tasks that, rather than you knowing how to navigate eBay, instead the agent can do it for you.
We're going to come back to this, but I just want to ask a quick question of the room, which is, how many people have used an AI tool to assist with some online shopping activity?
Do we get
Okay, that's like 35, 40%. That's pretty decent. Fiona, I want to come to you for a second. How are you looking at on the consumer side um, how Gen AI capabilities can really improve the experience, and what are sort of the metrics or like north stars that you're thinking about as you're leading this technology organization?
Yeah, thanks. And it's interesting you mentioned the long tail. Wayfair is sort of similar in that sense that we have many many items for the home, and for hopefully some of you are Wayfair customers, but it can be sometimes overwhelming. You want to know that hey, look, if you go to Wayfair, you can find whatever you're looking for, even if it's a pink polka dotted bar stool, which we do carry. But you don't want to sift through everything in order to find it, right? So for us, it's a category that is sometimes very difficult to describe what you're looking for, and sometimes you don't even really know what you're looking for till you see it. So the way we've leveraged some of the generative AI capabilities on the customer experience is actually looking at the text to imagery, so image generation, right? So we have capabilities now where customers can go to our site where it could be where there isn't a lot of they may not have the ability to again describe what they want, but they can look at a lot of generated imagery and look at the different styles. Again, they may not need to know how to name them, but if they see it, they can engage with it, and then it'll allow them to drill down more and get to a point where they're like, this is the look that I'm going for. These are the items I want to buy, and I can then map that to real life items in my catalog, right? And so, again, we've got 30 million over items, and we can find the best item that matches sort of this inspired look that they're going for. So that's where we've applied it on the customer experience side, and it's been helpful again because of the category that we're in. This multimodal capabilities have been really helpful.
And are you getting feedback from customers on this experience where they explicitly know that AI is sort of behind this?
Yeah.
And does that matter one way or the other?
Yeah, we are pretty upfront and we let them know that these are generated images. And even on our site or our app, when it is generated, we'll have a little thing that says, AI generated. And for the most part, again, when customers feel like it's really been done in their service, they're actually very open to it. We've actually we really haven't gotten any feedback that says, oh, I don't like the fact that you're generating images. They're actually finding that it's helpful just to see the volume of imagery that kind of helps them kind of come up with a style, and they can sort of interact with it and come up with something that's really unique for them. And essentially the generative capabilities are then going to generate something, and it can interact with it and get a little closer. So they feel like it's in their service, so they're quite fine with it. So yeah, that's kind of what we're seeing so far.
Just going after the actual goals and hopes and dreams of integrating this into your site. You're both, I think the diplomatic way to say it, are mature e-commerce businesses, right? And so growth is in single-digit percentage or around there. And so, are you and your CEOs looking at this space as this can be a key inflection point where we're going to make such great improvements that we're going to start to really re-accelerate growth in a material manner? Or is this about just bringing stronger connections with your existing customer base, helping with productivity, cutting costs? Like how do you think about those two sides of the equation?
I'll let you go first.
Okay, yeah. It's actually both, right? So I think underneath the covers, we are looking at how do we unlock productivity, say at the very base level, how do I use coding assistance for my developers so that they can develop capabilities faster. Some of the mundane tasks can be automated away, all the way through other functions that are able to leverage some of the generative capabilities to help them do better. And again, that will all feed into sort of operational efficiency. But there's definitely, we feel very strongly too that as a tech forward company, I know eBay is as well, we want to make sure that we're out there and building out these differentiated experiences and allowing our customers to interact with and experience our catalog in wholly different ways that hopefully will be just that much more delightful for them and helping them find their perfect item for their home. So it's really both. We're looking at it. There's definitely applications that are operationally efficient, and then there's definitely sort of swings that we're taking on the customer experience side to really serve our customers in a different way.
Yeah, I guess the sort of way shorter way I could have asked that question, which is, are there generative AI experiences that you think could be a silver bullet to re-accelerate growth?
The way I would articulate it is a little differently. I plus one on everything
Please.
Fiona said, because can't read the future, but
Yeah.
what we're confident in, myself, but also our entire leadership team, is that if you look at what's happening with technology, and it's not just AI, obviously AI being at the forefront, but there are other forms of technology as well. We're seeing that e-commerce is changing and changing rapidly between what's happening with social, between what's happening with video and the like, and then of course with AI and now AI agents. So we're embracing it wholeheartedly because we feel that it is in the relatively near future. We can't forecast exactly how long that means. E-commerce will be evolving really rapidly, and AI is an opportunity to reimagine how we bring products, essentially physical goods, to consumers through a digital medium, which frankly, even today, eBay's been around for about 30 years now. We still, even though e-commerce has been around pretty much 30 years, eBay is one of the very first, there's still a gap between the experience you have with online shopping and what you have with physical retail.
Yeah.
And we want to close that gap even more than it has so far.
I've been, like I said, I've been reporting on the space over 10 years, and I think since the beginning of that, there's been this promise that the type of joy that some people get from browsing and treasure hunting in a physical experience will one day translate in some way to the screen. And I think some people have found that a bit in different platforms. Maybe Instagram does that for you, maybe TikTok does, maybe eBay does, or Wayfair. But I've wondered if that is a expectation that is ever sort of going to come to fruition. And it seems, and don't want to lead you too far, but it seems like you're saying this could be a path forward to sort of creating that type of experience where you truly are discovering without maybe a lot of the work.
Yeah, if you think of even the visual experiences Fiona was describing, there are actually things that you can do on the screen that you couldn't do if you're not going to start showing photos to someone who walks into a furniture store, right? So there are actually things that online shopping can do that physical retail can't. In addition to it, there's a scale element. So what we are looking to do with the shopping agent is imagine you have that same kind of expert you would have in the retail store, but for every category that you're interested in, including some really niche, esoteric categories that eBay has.
Nate, give us one. What's your favorite?
I know I'll do this because I know your son is a fan, but basketball trading cards, right? What's the likelihood of you walking into a physical store and interacting with an expert on basketball trading cards? Very, very small. But we can offer that through our agent, where for whatever your interest is, you'd have a personalized expert agent that can really help you along that journey and frankly, make it fun.
If there are questions along the way, I'm happy to take a little break and answer them. So please we have one already. So that was easy. I think we have a mic coming. My one request, tell us who you are and what company you're from, please. Thank you.
Hi, Matthias Röder, The Mindshift. Just wondering, how do you make these experts really experts? I mean, it requires a lot of data, I suppose, and expert data, and that can be very difficult and expensive to acquire. Could you maybe let us in a little bit on the inside?
Yeah, I mean, we do have an advantage of, to your point earlier, being polite about it. I won't say old, but being mature company, being around for 30 years. We have 30 years worth of data, including on some very sort of niche categories with data from very, what we call enthusiast or category-specific experts. And then, of course, we are continually exploring new opportunities for enriching this data as well.
Is that enriching this data would mean purchasing outside data, or
through partnerships when those come along, and other opportunities that we're just always especially on the AI side, always keeping an eye out for opportunities to make the experiences richer. We've announced various partnerships in the past and will continue to do so.
Fiona, do you have a?
It's quite similar, right? I think a lot of it is how do you enrich and understand and augment sometimes what your suppliers give you, right, in terms of data. And I think the advancements of late have really enabled us to do even more of that. We used to build our own foundational models. We still use some of those, and so now we're able to pair that up with some of the sort of third-party, bigger large language models to be able to discern and really, extract out as much as possible from the data that we get from our suppliers, right? It's usually some image and some product specs, and we use that to really help to tell the story of the product that they're selling. So we've been doing that as well. And then to your point as well, it's all the user reviews of the product, et cetera. We're all combining that so that a customer can sort of interrogate it almost, right? So we have not quite the same shopping agent, but we have the capabilities now that we've just launched as well that allows customers to ask questions about the product, right? How long does it take to assemble? Is the headboard removable, et cetera, right? And so those are things that generally you can find it in the product specs which we have or in the reviews, but it takes some time. So now, customers can actually, get confidence faster because they can ask and interrogate sort of the agent that we have that's surfacing that up.
Is keyword search in e-commerce like over, or like where
It takes
are
a
we
while,
in
I
that
think, to
evolution?
shift customer behavior. So I think we're seeing longer, I'm sure you are as well, longer and longer queries and a little bit more natural language. But it'll take a little while. And I think that's why sometimes it's also augmenting that with visual searches. And I think not too long from now, voice, right? So that's the other way that sometimes people don't like to type a lot, but they're willing to speak, right? And so the voice capabilities are also coming along very fast. So you could potentially see a thing where you're actually just conversing with your e-commerce site, right? It's like, not that one. I want something a little bit bigger, a little smaller, et cetera. And if you don't want to type, it ends up being another medium. So we're also
Are you
looking
currently
for that.
enabling that voice capability?
Not yet, but we're looking at it very closely to get to a point where we are able to enable it, because a lot of it is that, right? So again, when you're trying to describe something, it may take more words than you're willing to type. So I think offering another medium like voice could be a thing. So
Yeah,
we're looking at
I was
that.
on Perplexity the other day, and I don't know, I went down some rabbit hole, which I'm prone to do, for better or worse. My wife would say way worse. And I realized I had typed like a couple of paragraphs, and I'm
Right.
like, maybe there's a better way, and
Yeah.
maybe it's just me.
Yeah.
But I've thought a lot about voice, and I think
Yeah,
that-
with a lot of the systems now, you can interact with voice. Sometimes, I'm driving home and I'll just talk to Gemini, right? And just because that's the only medium that works when you're driving. And so I think those are the kind of potential shifts that consumers could make.
I'll take other questions if we have them. Otherwise, I'm always happy to keep going. All right, we have one right here. Yeah, there's a mic coming.
Hi, my name is Amrita. I work at Cinemedia looking at AI transformation. And one of the challenges that we are exploring is we work in media technology. So again, there's a consumer end to it. Are you finding a generational shift in the readiness to accept AI, especially with all of the data that you've got with niche users and enthusiasts? You are able to, within reason, approximate generation. Do you see that? Do you see more trust in the younger generations because they are AI
more
native
used to it.
compared to the older generations?
So I know what the research says, which the research suggests what you're saying as well. From our own consumer base, we're not really seeing that. I thought that actually I had the leaning to think that maybe our adoption rates would be faster with certain newer customers, but we're actually seeing it being spread pretty broadly, and it's so far hard to predict who's going to be more a bigger fan of AI first experiences.
Yeah, I'd plus one to that. I was curious what you were gonna
Yeah.
say too, because we're seeing kind of the same thing. It isn't like one group that's like way more than the other. So yeah.
One question about internal dynamics during this sort of boom for companies like yours. How much are you having to argue or position yourself in your orgs for the capital necessary? Yes, costs have come down in many ways, but these are not cheap products to build. And so, and when I guess the way I think about it also is the future is, as always, very uncertain. I'm just curious about the cases you're making internally, or maybe you're the one saying, we need to take a more measured approach. I'm wondering if you could let us in a little bit to those discussions.
From our perspective, we've been pretty deliberate and actually transparent about the fact that we're striving to keep our technology spend flat while massively increasing our investment in AI. And we're doing that by finding ways of increasing efficiency elsewhere in the technology stack. In other words, my colleagues have to bear the brunt of the efficiencies and pay the way for my
Does that mean
spend.
fewer colleagues as well?
Probably.
Oh.
No, I don't mean that. I thought you were saying fewer friends amongst my colleagues, but
It's a great headline.
no. But with all seriousness,
Yeah.
I think what we didn't want to see happen is what happened with some companies early in the cloud days, in the public cloud boom, where they sort of didn't do a measured approach and the spend got away from them and then they had to pull it all back. We're taking a much more measured approach than that and wanting to keep our overall tech spend flat. That being said, we had to specifically develop our foundation model strategy in a way that enables it. So we are often accelerating time to market by using larger, less optimized models first, but then within the first 90 days or so, bring it either in-house, or if it's already in-house, bring it to a more optimized set of models that are smaller, computationally much more efficient. We sometimes are driving 100-fold efficiency increases through these processes. And that's core to our strategy so that we can do many, many different things with AI for our customers and not only be able to afford a few select use cases.
Next time we'll have one of your colleagues up here and get their side of things too. But that's very helpful. Fiona, can you shed any light on internal discussions on the topic?
I mean, I think we've been very pragmatic about which use cases to go after, and sort of being a tech forward company and where we've applied a lot of the predictive AI ML for quite some time. We had, I would say, a good sense of where the ROI would be, and so we've gone faster in those areas. And I think, as you pointed out too, we're working very closely. We're a big Google Cloud partner, and so working very closely with them to also make sure that we're running the most efficient model for the use case, right? And that's the thing too, is like one model may work better for use case A, and use case B, you could do another one. You could use a much smaller model for. So I think you have to constantly be looking at it. And then, as you know, models come out like once a week, sometimes twice in a week, right? And with every iteration, you may find that actually either the previous model works or the smallest model of the new iteration works, right? So that's the other thing is, I think in this world now, you just have to be nimble. You can't be too precious about the solutions that you're building, and just be able to swap things out and always be, I think it's beholden on us. It's my, it's the budget that we're looking after, and I want to make sure that I get the most out of it. So kind of working with our partners on that too.
Any other questions? Otherwise, I'll go one final one. Oh, we have one right here in the middle.
Hello, Nitin Patel from Poshmark. I'm a previous employee of eBay as well. So one question I have is in terms of addressing customer needs in European markets. And clearly, obviously, we have a very disparate set of languages and also cultural norms. To what extent do you think that your companies are now prepared and positioning themselves to be able to address the differing needs through the use of AI, both on the buy and sell side experience, because of different needs in each of the respective countries?
Very brief answers to a very complex question, please.
I'll give a 30-second answer, which concretely, some experiences we found that there wasn't a need for much customization. In other cases, for example, we launched our description generation with LLMs a year and a half ago in the US. It took us some time to roll it out in Germany because we found that there were different needs, and we didn't want to scale it up in Germany until it was a really good fit. So it took some customization and iteration to fit not just the linguistic nuances, but actually the cultural nuances of what customers wanted.
Fiona, anything to add?
We're
All right. Well, thank you so much. We're out of time. Thank you for the wonderful questions as well.